You're watching Bophelong, the show that celebrates agents of change, promotes social cohesion, and shines a spotlight on all things that make us proud to be Africans. My name is Bule Mulabati. I'm back again this week with your weekly dose of inspiration. Welcome to the show. Well-known photographer Joseph Kudelka once said, "I don't like captions. I prefer people to look at my pictures and invent their own stories." That quote is quite appropriate for this week's story because our hero is a 22-year-old visually impaired photographer who has an inexplicable love affair with camera. Take a look at Donovan's story.
When I'm holding my camera, I feel happy. I sort of end up blocking out the rest of the world. All my problems just fall away. I sort of just start concentrating on that specific moment where what I'm photographing with. Any stress or problems that usually bothered me 10 minutes before the shoot just disappears, and I'm completely absorbed in the shoot, and I enjoy it and have fun.
Photography has the ability to take people on a journey of how the person behind the lens views the world around them. This is Donovan's point of view.
This eye, I have 25% vision, and in this eye I've got 50% vision. I've got a condition known as retinopathy. It's with the damaging of the back of the retina. Now, instead of my retina, it is damaged, but it's also loose at the back of the eye. So I can't take any hard blows to the head, otherwise I risk tearing off the entire retina, and then I lose technically all function in that eye.
22-year-old Donovan Botha is a visually impaired photographer who is redefining the term "seeing the world through my eyes," and this profession has given him a new voice about his unique experiences, feelings, challenges and hopes.
Well, it's blurry, and I can see it's you, right? But I can't see fine details. Like, I can see your face, I can see where your eyes are, because those are just like two black spots, and it's just like color and the blurry shape, and that's basically all I can see. The further away the person stands, the more blurry and more mixed the colors become and all that.
Having to visit hospitals regularly, his childhood was not as normal as other children.
I was in the hospital quite a lot due to my eyesight. I had several eye surgeries. For that, I had a lens installed in this eye. I had operations for kidney stones and all that. So yes, I was a big fan at the hospitals. Not a big fan of them anymore because they just cause pain.
He was born 3 months premature, and because of all the oxygen they gave the babies to bring them up to speed, what had happens is the oxygen makes that the retina, the cells around the retina, instead of growing equally around the cells like a normal baby, he's went up like lamppost. So normally what I do with prem babies in hospital, they get an eye check every week, and then after he was discharged, everything was fine, we didn't think there was anything wrong. And then we started noticing stuff like he won't see his rattles and stuff. So, and the neonatal unit said we need to take him for our eye check, and when we did, they said he was already in stage 2, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and they did try to do the first laser operation when I was holding him on my lap, and I said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't do this." So yeah, and then that's where it started. But they couldn't identify how much eye loss he already had, because he can't tell them the words or anything. So he got his first glasses just before he was 2 years old. I cried my eyes out because I thought, how can a little boy like this wear glasses? And he just put them on and he played. He just took it in his stride.
Despite the challenges they faced as parents, they cheerfully describe Donovan's pleasant childhood.
Him as a child was an easy child. Come from school, did his homework, and there was Donovan. Never had problems with him.
No, not really. It's just the only problem was if he lost his pencil. And he said, I just put it down here, and then he couldn't find it because the colors are the same on the desk, and then I will have to go and search for it. And as well, when he played cards when he was small, he couldn't see them all the time, so we had to say, okay, no, there's your cards, you played there, and some of them are there. But otherwise he was not a difficult child.
Because of his visual impairment, he fully depends on his glasses.
For me, it's normal. I always have my glasses with me. It's the first thing I grab for in the morning when I wake up. And I really don't do anything else in the morning if I don't find my glasses first. I'm like a little lost puppy when I don't have my glasses.
His disability made him face challenges when growing up, but he clearly pulled through.
Most of the challenges was actually not being able to do actually quite a lot of things like quad biking or going on certain rides at amusement parks because they don't allow it. But I only recently mostly started discovering where my limitations lied after I graduated from matric, because we were sort of kept in a bubble during school where everything was controlled. You were always around people with the same conditions or worse conditions, so you didn't know where your limitations will actually lie until you actually went out and explored.
It looks like if he wasn't a photographer, he would be working with cars. Where does all this love for cars come from?
Well, my love of cars started, I think it started with PlayStation. No, it started even before PlayStation. My uncle had an old Ford Sierra. Loved that car. It sounded like a V8, but it was, I think, an actual just a V6, but it was a lovely car. Doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. So I think that's where it all started. And then with PlayStation and all that coming out of all the car games, I was like boss at all those games. I beated my dad, I beated my friends. I'm still a big car racing fan today. I still have a few games of those.
Select.
It's kind of ironic. I have a big love for cars, but I can't drive one. So, but I think it might be to fill that void that I can't actually drive. When I was younger, I constantly hoped, yes, I might be able to drive, but eventually when I went for that eye test to actually determine if you can't drive, it actually became clear to me I cannot drive.
I wanted to teach him to drive, but now I can't anymore. That's really sad because now I know he will depend on us for the rest of his life, or till the sister gets a license, yes, then she can drive him around. But now it's me and Mom is driving him around.
Yeah, it was one of his big dreams since he's been small to drive his own car. He had a car that he wanted to buy when he had his license and everything. He had everything planned. And the day when he came back from the ophthalmologist and they did the test to see whether he can do his driver license, whether he qualifies, he was completely down for about 2 days. He was really down. But then he just jumped back. And he said, you know what, I'm going to study photography. And one of the questions when he had to go for the interview to see if he qualifies, they asked him, what are you going to do with transport? And he said, with his clients, he says, I'm going to save money and I'm going to get a limo. Because then I can transport the clients in style and I don't have to worry about how I get to the site.
I've got a new motivation. I'm going to get myself a limousine and then just have it like a photography limousine with the lights and the cameras and all that. So I'd be the only photographer with a limousine. So I'm actually quite looking forward to that if I can when I manage to do that.
As a child, he will play with cameras and take pictures. But this is how the passion for photography really started.
Officially, it started, I got this ancient old camera in grade 3. It was a rectangle, just flattened, and you only had one button that you press, and that's it. That's all that it did. You inserted the battery, inserted the film, and you pressed the button, and that was it. You couldn't zoom, you couldn't do anything. Many years later, while I was cleaning my cupboard, I actually discovered that camera, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should try and get some film for this and see what I can actually get with this. But unfortunately, the film manufacturers stopped manufacturing the film for that specific camera. And then I ended up buying a digital camera, and then it just sort of grew from there.
Awesome. Check kry.
Wat het jy daar? Wow, ek het al vergeet ons het hierdie ou ding.
Donovan is fortunate enough to have identified the one thing he was born to do, to create pictures despite his visual impairment. More coming up after the break.
News at 9. We go beyond the headlines of the day and breaking news to bring you all the angles and in-depth analysis of stories that impact your life. We are on the ball with all economic stories. Our bureaus around the globe are ready to connect you to events as and when they happen. So join us every day at 9 to zoom in on the day's big stories.
I want to thank and humble myself for the opportunity that was given to me to serve the people by the African National Congress.
The Premier resigning. Now, a new man is taking over the reins.
It's a trust deficit that has widened. I think that has been patently clear from the concerns that people have been raising. So it is not true that there is no money. No, there was no money.
Thank you for staying with us right here on Bophelong. Let's take a look at how Donovan took that bold step to enroll at Tshwane University of Technology to study photography. Donovan has recently completed a national diploma in visual communications at the Tshwane University of Technology and has become the first ever visually impaired student to study at the Department of Visual Communications.
I wanted to do IT and I wanted to do photography. So now I was like one day, do I want to do IT and in 10 years time be bored of my desk job and say I'm bored and quit, and then you look for something else to do. Instead, then I thought, whereas if I go and do photography, every day is a new adventure. I meet new people, I go to exciting places, it's always fun.
The institution was helpful and showed fairness in all procedure.
I think they went about it like the normal way they would for any other student. You had to fill in the form and then they contact you for an interview. And then we had to set up a book, about 10 to 15 photos where we have to take them to them and then they look through it and then they decide, do we approve you, yes or no? So I think they used the normal basic process of any normal person to judge me.
It was a first for us as well, and initially we were worried as to how were we going to handle the situation, but in the end it turned out that it was actually quite okay. Handling visual impairment in photography, of course, is a challenge because we work being able to see, or that you need to be able to see. So I think allowing potential students or new students into our program that are visually impaired is a real possibility, yes.
His lecturer also explains how Donovan was as a student.
We were continuously aware of the fact that he was visually impaired, but from his side, he made an absolute commitment to make sure that that was never ever offered as an excuse. The only circumstances where we had to accommodate him was, for instance, with the tests. We had to print the question papers slightly larger, but apart from that, he was like any other normal student.
The lecturers were very supportive. They everyone was willing to help wherever they could.
His parents never refused him the opportunity to go into the field of photography.
I'll tell them, if you want, that is your dream, you want to follow it. Because I've seen too many times in my life that a parent chooses a career for a child and halfway through it, they're not completing their course. So when he told me he wanted to go do that, I said, by all means you can go do it, you follow your dream. It is not my dream, it is your dream that you must follow. Because I'm not going to live your life for you, you must live your life for yourself.
His tertiary friend tells us more about their bond in varsity.
I met Donovan in our first year. It wasn't class, we were never really friends in first year until second year when we stayed together. So first year we were just classmates, knowing each other. Well, at first I didn't understand why would he be studying photography with problems, the eyes. But when time went on, seeing the results, what he produced, I was like, okay, man, this guy can do it. And then he was so into it, he was really doing it. Then I had to kind of, I didn't even have to think about should I accept him or not, because he was performing like all of us. So he was kind of blended in. He was one of us.
I usually always got bigger papers, and everyone started calling it the Donovan-sized paper. It was actually quite funny. And at some points where my lecturers would usually assist me a little bit more in studio shoots than with the other students. Now that usually made me feel a bit bad, because they can also use a lot more help than which I can. So I kind of felt a bit bad that there was a bit more attention being paid to me than with the other students. The biggest challenge that was getting from place to place, getting to locations, getting to a landscape which you have to photograph, because can't always actually get transport to those places. The other difficulties was while I'm busy shooting, I can't always see if my image is in focus or not, especially when you check on the back of the camera. So I tend to shoot sometimes a lot more images than is needed, and then I can only officially decide if the image is in focus or not once I'm back home and viewing it on my larger screen. The other difficulty I had in the beginning was looking through the viewfinder. Because of my glasses, there's always a space between my eye and the viewfinder, because the viewfinder is actually meant to be against your eyes. So the viewfinder constantly moved around in my field of vision because it wasn't against my eye. But eventually I worked around it and I got used to it. And I also struggled to see fine details like dust on the surface when doing a studio shoot, or if there's just like a strand of hair lying across a model's shoulder. I don't always see that. But with time I also managed to just start paying more attention to my surroundings, the subjects that I'm photographing, and sort that out. But they still sometimes do slip by.
His friend played a huge role in assisting him with things he couldn't manage on his own.
Mostly was post-production, and I would assist him in the studio as well. So I wouldn't really consider it really helping him that much, but I'll be there wherever he says, because he's I think he's stubborn, or he knows what he wants. But I'll be there whenever he wants to. He'll just point out, do this for me, and then I do.
His portfolio is something that he and his family are still proud of. It's a collection that will always stay dear to his heart.
I like colorful photography. I do love black and white. There's always a black and white image around there somewhere. But I like contrast photography. I'm not too mad about the entire airy-fairy type of thing where the highlights, or giving it like a sort of misty feel. I'm not too mad about it. In some pictures it looks absolutely wonderful, but for me, I'm more into colorful contrast, have proper shadows, more or less like how I'm seeing you. I try to get it as close to actually what I have seen.
It surely wasn't the easiest 3 years in tertiary, but wow, such amazing work. More after the break.
was saying similarly here, in a process which is intended to be impartial and independent, he should similarly recuse himself.
One can build conspiracies, and the fewer facts you have, the more easy it is to build conspiracies. And I suggest to you that when suggesting that there is some conspiracy about the witnesses were called, you might not have been aware of the facts that I've outlined to you.
Zimbabwe belongs to all Zimbabweans from all the four corners of Zimbabwe.
What a time! 1:54.26, another meeting record. She made it look effortless. Once again, Caster Semenya, no pacemaker required.
Shervin Brixby's SABC News, New York.
Paul Barber, SABC News, London.
Tebu Mokobo, SABC Ufa Kochamono, Russia.
Neha Punya, SABC News, Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh in India.
Other than that, I've enjoyed every single moment of it.
Takwana Ngatani, SABC News, Soweto, Johannesburg.
Welcome back to the show. Here is more of Donovan in action. All the hard work and perseverance has paid off. Donovan will receive his diploma on the 10th of May.
I am very happy to be graduating. There were some days that I thought this day wouldn't actually come, especially when you start in first year and you see all these third years and fourth years and you're like, am I ever going to get that far? Am I ever going to get to that point? And you see their work and their work is like so amazing and you're just like,
Well, unfortunately we have to cut out of our usual programming there on Bophelong. These are live pictures coming to you from Moscow, Russia, and of course the other quarter-final match